I just had a really interesting dream, and I'm going to share it with you because it's really important. It was about a dream about a life we lived in. This is attempt number 3, by the way. The dream was about a world about like maybe 10,000 years ago, where all of the races and ethnicities and everything we have now were backtracked and defiltered, so they were still more whole compared to like how people now are, Irish and American and German and Greek and all of this. But if you follow the bloodlines back, there were just a few specific ethnicities from different countries all over the world. And we were in that world, and the world, from what I was shown, was 3 layers. One was the physical, where people are living day to day and they're very, a mundane life. They didn't have any power. Then there was this veil world, where the people there were like ghosts to the people in world A, or world A. And in world B, the people could interact with world A, but the people in world A couldn't interact with world B. They couldn't see them, but they were right in the same space, as if somebody is in the house with you, but they're a ghost to you. Or you think they're a ghost to you, but to them, you're the ghost. And then in world C, which is directly behind world B, there were these entities who fed off of the energy emitted from world A, because world A wasn't using any of the magic, so world C had all of this power at its disposal. And world B and the people there were the in-between. So I was in this, the dream went on all night. It was the same dream. Part of me feels like I wasn't even dreaming, that I was actually in some other timeline experiencing this. Thanks. And one of my teammates I was with, he was walking down these stairs in this castle that we went to get this book out of, so that world C entities couldn't get it. And he fell down these stairs, and as soon as he fell, he hit his head, and he was in a lot of pain on the floor. And as soon as I saw him fall, I fell down with him to huddle over him and hold him. And as I did, then my hand started tickling and itching and vibrating, and I put one hand over his head and the other one at the tail of his spine, and I huddled over him while he was on the floor in a fetal position. And we had another partner who was like a ranger character, who showed up, and he's like, "We have to go, we don't have time for this right now." Like, pick him up, let's go, we need to go. And he couldn't, the samurai looking guy couldn't get up. He was in too much pain, and as I was holding him, I felt the urge and the necessity, the desire and the amount of love I could feel within me, because I didn't want this person to be in pain. And that all of that emotion went through my chest, out my arms, into his body, and healed him immediately, like instantly. While I was doing this, in that moment, which felt like 5-6 seconds, this beautiful woman that worked at this castle tavern area, she walked by, and as soon as we heard her walk, I held my right hand up into the air, and all I thought was a rune of invisibility. And the air around us turned into this water, and these letters started appearing in the air. And as long as I felt that I was invisible and my team was invisible, that nothing would get through it. But she kept tapping me on the foot, because apparently my foot was in her way, but she was pretending to not see me. And I felt her acknowledgement of my presence, and I felt the acknowledgement of her acknowledgement of my presence. Like, it was a silent knowing that she sees me. And while I still had my hand on my friend's head, and the other hand in the air. These runes were glowing everywhere, and the ranger's like still and silent next to the wall in the shadow. This woman's like, I need you to move. I'm like, you're not supposed to see us. Well, how do you see us? And then she telepathically sent me a message. She's like, intuitive people can sense into the other realm. Most of them just don't know how to utilize this. But I see you. And, I moved my leg over so she could get down to the stairs to the like pantry that they had. And as soon as she did, I took both of my hands and put them on the floor and like invoked the name of home that was in that world. And everything shifted and shimmered, and then we were in this like mud-built Aztec Amazon jungle kind of, I don't know, cottage. It wasn't a castle, it wasn't big enough to be a house, but it was like a series of rooms and like a 2-bedroom apartment or something made out of stone and mud and leaves under a bunch of palm trees and next to a source of water. Very basic, like a basic hideaway kind of thing. In this hideaway area, when we got there, there were more people that were coming to live there, and then we were supposed to manifest more, like they asked me to manifest more rooms in the house so that more people would have a place to stay. So I went outside and touched the ground, spoke to the earth and the trees and the water and the air, and asked them to work with me to create this other extension to the house. But in order to do so, I had to feel the layers of the walls, the texture of the mud. I had to basically become those things and feel them into the position that they were supposed to be. Very, very interesting and very, very detailed in this dream. Long story short, okay, the point of all of this was that in this dream, I was really intensely feeling these emotions, from compassion to intent, to knowing what a building feels like, to being aware of how other people see or if they don't see. I was basically one with that reality, with that ether space. And manifestation was instant. But the feeling was there. And a whole bunch of stuff happened, and I like flew off to go somewhere. And as I did, I saw these other people flying into where the hideout was. And I stopped back and I landed back on the floor. And in that moment where I saw these opposing people, which were probably nice people, I couldn't tell, and you'll find out why. They were going to bring this young woman into the cottage, and I thought they were like bad guys. So I like moved up I don't know how to word it. I moved the river up to flood them away. Like, I actually saw the river itself instead of streaming. I moved my hands up as if I was picking the river up, but from a distance, and the river picked up and flooded against them. One of those girls picked up a bunch of pebbles off the floor. She laid her hand on the floor, and all these rocks picked up off the floor, and she like pummeled me with them. But instead of them hitting me, there was this level of air shield that blocked them all off. And as soon as I was going to retaliate and send them all back, I noticed I don't feel anything. That I couldn't feel anything. That all of my abilities went null, like they were gone. And this other girl behind her, this like priestess looking girl, was looking right at me, and I felt her communicate with me telepathically in regards to emotion. She's like, you don't realize how harm and harm of others eliminates your ability to create. And when she transmitted this message to me, I became very aware of what was going on in my dream body and how I had basically been one of the bad guys working with the good guys, and those were the good guys. I was the bad guy. It was weird. It was so weird. I felt what it felt like to be somebody that doesn't know that they're the enemy while they're still doing what they're doing, because I couldn't feel to the extent that they did, even though I thought I did. There was a sense of compassion that needs to be ignited in people in regards to manifestation, like real hardcore manifestation. You have to be in your heart space. You have to be aware of emotions and other people's emotions, and you have to like almost vow to yourself to never use that power to hurt people. And in that moment, I was about to use this power to hurt people because I thought they were going to hurt the people I was with. Little did I know, because my heart center in that moment was cut off, it was like shut down briefly, I felt what it was like to be the villain. And let me tell you, these villains that we have in this world A, this like mortal world we live in, they don't know what it feels like to be a villain. To them, it's normal. So all these people doing terrible things in the world, to them it's normal. What it feels like from their point of view, or at least in the point of view of the dream that I was having, was that the people that were being attacked by the attacker, that those people that were being, on the defensive, that they just didn't get it. It felt like they didn't get why I was defending my friends. But the reality of it was, there was no need for conflict. It was just a sensation of, it was the inability to feel the fear of someone else, which caused and led to terrible actions being taken. It was very profound to be in that moment as somebody with an active heart center, and then suddenly have it all turn off. But while it's off, you don't realize it's off. You just think it's a normal, dull moment. Like, oh, I got this, it's fine. It's just, another TV show, or it's just going to the store. Because you like losing that empathic ability makes you feel like nobody else has it either. So you could be like Genghis Khan running through some tribe, pillaging and plundering or whatever you're doing, and you think everybody is just, they're just silly. They're just not making any, they're just yelling. It's fine. Like, they really don't get it. It was weird. Like, I almost felt bad for the people in the dream doing the bad things. And then when I was right in between the people doing heart center compassionate things and doing terrible things, I was right in between that. And the moment I decided to retaliate, to defend, I became part of the group that didn't have the compassionate heart level, because I had to give that up because I was intending to hurt people, which means I couldn't maintain the compassionate level of manifestation, which went into the destructive level of manifestation, which immediately shut down because there wasn't enough power. The elements all stopped contributing. All the natural forces stopped working with me. And it was strange. It's a strange sensation to not have that heart center compassion. It feels like boredom. It's almost as if all the villains in all the stories are incapable of an empathic connection to anyone around them. So they think that they're the only ones that can feel, and that everyone else is just dull and brain dead or emotionless. it made me feel sorry for them, honestly, because they're missing out on so many wonderful experiences because they think that other people feel less or nothing at all, when it's actually them that feel less or nothing at all. And then they had found pleasure in doing things that were destructive to themselves because the act of destroying their own bodies created a sensation of being alive and empathic because they could feel their body's pain. So they would hurt themselves to remind themselves of what it felt like to be these powerful manifesting elemental beings again. It was sad, man. And then in World A, which was the human mundane world, World B, which was all the elements and magical beings that were assisting the human world, and in World C was the world with these demonic shadow beings who were feeding off the energy from World A, which was being unused. And then the World B, the mid world, was defending World A from World C. It was interesting, and there were these shadow beings who were feeding off the knowledge and the excess energy and magic that was being released by World A, which they weren't using because they thought magic was dead. These shadow beings were the remnants of what was left from the original elemental, angelic, manifesting magical beings and forces of nature. Because they had lost their connection to an empathic bond with life, they had become those that would need to drain that life to feel what it's like to be alive again, to feel what it's like to be loved and to love others. That feeling is eliminated when people attack. So in that moment where I was shown that I was attacking these other people, and then I delved into that realm of World C, of the shadow realm, I felt all of their pain in that world. All of it. Almost like every archon and every demon and every entity screamed at me because they were looking for someone to help them. And then in that moment in the dream where I could see this other shadow world, and I could see this world of magic, and then the mundane world in between, it was like I was holding the sun, the moon, and the earth in front of me. And all of them merged into one planet of people destroying each other. All because each group perceived the other group as enemies. World A, the mortal human world, was completely unaware of the other world. There were just a few intuitives in that world that could see, but they could only see up to World B. In World B, there were no mortals, but these people used human bodies that were more magically enhanced, naturally, like they were just a different species of beings. And they could see into World A, but they refused to see into World C because they thought World C was just nothing but parasites. And then those of us that were like me in the dream, who were in between, like a neutral character or a chaotic neutral, that one that does good and then can do bad equally as well, like using offensive magic and defensive magic. Those of us in that dream that see both worlds had the weight of compassion on their soul. And when that weight becomes too much, it kind of forces and causes a form of depression in that world, which leads into the shadow world. And once you're there, you lose the ability to manifest and to feel compassion, which means you start losing compassion for yourself, and then you get lost in that world and you think that's all there is. And those that stay in World B and continue to do good on both sides become completely disillusioned with World C and World A. They become like overzealous defenders who just want to eliminate any and all shadow beings, and they want to just treat mortals like they're cattle. And, the balance has to be maintained, is what I heard. So, my head really, really hurts right now. I feel like I have been manifesting and creating like a freaking genie in a bottle. And I feel tired. but I feel alive. I feel all sorts of compassion and empathy and all sorts of emotions, but at the same time, I feel like I'm a blade forged in heat. That's the imagery I'm getting. So I'm gonna cut this short, pun intended, I suppose. And I hope this serves you, because this dream was really intense. I mean, it's taken me 20 minutes just to explain it, and I was dreaming. I've been asleep for about 8.5 hours, or almost 9 hours. And it was the same dream the entire time. So before you go and like judge other people for what they're doing, or think that nothing exists, realize that you're a ghost in a world that is a ghost world to another world, and that world is also a ghost world to another world. We're all ghosts here, basically. And your worst enemy is somebody who deserves your love the most. Because at some point they had felt that they needed to defend something, or to retaliate, or to attack, which was a trap set by the people, the beings in World C, to create more beings to go into World C so they can feed off of what energy remains in that being before it becomes a shadow being. Anyway, I'm gonna go. If you can do anything kind for the universe today, assist in the forgiveness of those in those shadow realms. They were just like you before. They were people like you and me. And it breaks my heart. It really does, to think that there is an entire society and species and world of people who have been forgotten about and damaged and broken and abandoned and neglected, all because they made a mistake. Whether intentionally or unintentionally, they didn't know the repercussions of their actions. In one part of the dream, one of them was chasing a bunny to try to get that bunny to eat it for dinner. And as soon as he caught that bunny and like snapped its neck to dispatch it and skin it and all that, as soon as that bunny was killed, that person fell into a shadow state. He fell through the floor, his body collapsed on the floor, and his soul fell through the floor into the shadow realm. And then these other ghostly, weird, like floating, scully, dragony, weird monster demons. I don't know what they look like. They look like shadows, but with dragon faces, but also monkey faces, like a dragon monkey. It was weird. And they would come in and out of the world to like pluck people out of it that were making mistakes, but the mistakes they were making were sabotaged and traps set by the people, by the shadow realm. Which is another thing that the people in World B were doing to prevent those people from falling into those traps, and to prevent World C from interfering with World B and World A. Their mistake was that they weren't healing World C, they were denying it and blocking it off. And the normal humans, they were just, it was, I swear to God, it was like we were watching these people on stage, like on a movie set, and we were the directors and the production crew and everything, making sure that the actors, which were the humans, were okay. And then the paparazzi would have been the shadow realm. That's what it would like. If I was gonna make this into a movie moment for you, that's what it was like. I hope this serves you. I'm gonna go and have some coffee and watch some beautiful garden walks. By the way, if you have if you like nature and scenery, and you just like want to live the old world kind of life in the cottage in the woods, look up Beltane Cottage on YouTube. Beltaine Cottage. Beltane Cottage, I think is how it's pronounced. or Bialtina Cottage. It's beautiful, and the channel person is named Colette, and I've been watching her channel for over 10 years now, and it brings me so much peace. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day.